Hey BookTube, welcome back. I'm Winx and the ink I'm talking about today is a discussion video, and I want to discuss reading as self-care. I've been thinking about doing this video for a while, and actually Frankie from Frankie Reads recently did a discussion video on self-care, and that has kind of motivated me, so I'm going to keep the conversation going by making my own video here. So I put on my coziest of sweaters and made one of my favorite teas, and I'm here to talk about self-care. For me, reading has always been one of the greatest tactics I can use for self-care. Depending on what you're reading, it's a way to escape, it's a way to relax, it's a way to learn new tools and tactics to deal with the things that are going on in the outside world, and I find it makes such a difference. I haven't talked much about this on BookTube, though I am pretty vocal about it on other forms of social media, but I have fibromyalgia, which you may have heard of before, but if you haven't, it's a chronic condition that causes pain, fatigue, and a variety of other not-so-fun symptoms. I'm very fortunate in that mine is not very severe. There have been some points in time where it was pretty bad, but on the whole I'm able to manage it pretty well on my own with self-care. So this is also why I am so obsessed with baths and bath products, going to the spa. This is all stuff that I obviously enjoy on its own, but that I really got into because I started using it as ways to manage my fibromyalgia. But I'm getting a little far away from reading here, so let's jump back. I've had fibromyalgia for about 10 years, but I didn't actually get diagnosed until about 4 years ago, 4 to 5. And it wasn't until I moved to Portland and got the rheumatologist that I now have. For about a year or so before, it had been really extra mild, like I hardly had any symptoms at all. And I ended up taking this really big road trip, which involved being in a car for like 24 hours over the course of 2 days, and there was a lot of rain, and as I've learned, these are both things that can trigger some of my symptoms. So the combination of these things and having so much of them in such a short amount of time brought on a really big flare, and so I was in pretty bad shape for a while I was going to the doctor and getting the diagnosis and figuring out ways to manage it, and I spent a lot of that time in bed. As it happens, around this time, I saw an ad for the latest Mary Russell novel, and I hadn't actually realized that it was still an ongoing series. The first Mary Russell novel I ever read was actually the 5th book in the series, which is O Jerusalem, and I read it for a course in college, and I loved it. So I ended up borrowing the first few books from the library just to start going through the series, and then I'm pretty sure that just coursework and stuff caught up to me, and I stopped reading them at one point and sort of forgot about them for several years. And so when I saw this, the book was like the 11th book or something. So a lot of books had come out between when I stopped reading and when I saw this ad. So I decided that I was going to start at the very beginning, reread the first ones, and then keep going through the rest of the series to get totally caught up. And then by the time I got to the 11th book, the 12th book had actually come out, so I just kept this rolling. And reading this series was actually one of the biggest things that got me through that time. I just loved the character of Mary Russell. I felt this connection to her. I felt like she was a friend. I've always loved Sherlock Holmes, so I had a connection to him as well. I loved being able to follow the mysteries and just sort of keep my mind going. In a lot of the books they traveled. O Jerusalem goes to Jerusalem. Some of the other books go to America, they go to India, they go all over the place. And so that worked really well for me as just an idea of escapism and just imagining myself up and moving and going to all these places. And yeah, so this is a big part of why I'm so obsessed with this series. I have such a personal connection to this series, and I feel like grateful to these characters. I wish these characters could come off the page so I could just give them a hug and thank them for being there for me and helping me get through that time. That in itself I think really wraps up how powerful reading can be as a self-care tool. And actually also there's one line from the Mary Russell books that I've always really enjoyed because I think it really connects to that idea specifically, and it was Mary Russell herself saying that she climbed into her books and pulled the pages over her head. And that just rings so true for me, that books can be this safe, warm place that we can go to when things outside of books are not so pleasant and not so warm and safe. Obviously it does not work all the time, but it is a very powerful tool just to help you get through. And while I'm definitely not in the same place that I was back then, I still find reading to be such a great tool when I'm not feeling well or when I'm stressed. Book baths are a great example of this. Reading in the bath is possibly one of the greatest self-care combinations that just exist in life, so you should do it. And if you'd like an easy way to do it, check out bookbathbox.com. Sorry, not sorry. whatever. And I also enjoy taking like a 15 or 20-minute break at work sometimes, just to like leave my desk and go read a chapter and then come back, and just suddenly everything seems so much less stressful and frustrating, and I've definitely latched on to this tactic. I highly recommend it. So I would love to hear what you guys think about reading as self-care, and if you guys have any personal stories or experiences where it has been really helpful for you, let me know down in the comments, and I'll also put a link to Frankie's video so you can check that out too. And yeah, I'm just really interested to hear everybody's thoughts on it, so definitely let me know. Thanks guys for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you'd like to see more. I hope everybody's week is getting off to a good start, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!